The following program contains language, images, and/or subject matter that may be objectionable to some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Direct from Albany, New York, it's time for the New Media Zone. With your hosts, Ed and Dave. Tonight, a look at this week's new film and DVD releases. And a chance to win free movie tickets with the poster pair's name. And now your hosts, Ed and Dave.
Hello, and welcome to the New Media Zone. And Dave here, and Dave with you. We've got one of our special shows. Sometimes we do special episodes. We did our Colony Central reunion.
Right.
We said goodbye to Pier 1 when it closed, when we worked. But we never got to the work stories.
Ooh. Well, you have over the years mentioned things, and I may have from time to time.
You have,
and I don't
yes.
feel mine were as bizarre as some of yours. Or maybe they didn't bother me as much as yours bothered you. Yours was a lot of environmental issues.
Right.
But
That was a thing where the building, well, the second place I worked. Well, let's get into that.
Okay.
That's where we should start. We both worked for the state
yes.
of New York.
Proudly, I might add.
We proudly worked there. Yeah, we, people put it down, but it was a good job and good benefits.
Right.
Some of the things you ran across throughout the years were not of the best. And the best working... Did you have a bad working condition? Well, yes,
Well,
you
I
did.
think
That's one of your
you
stories.
will be referencing a previous show.
Right. Okay, we'll get to that. Yes,
Yeah.
you did have some.
Yeah.
Not the bad air quality, though, that I had.
No.
Now, you went to the work for the state before I did.
84.
84, and you took the test.
Yes.
Did somebody advise you to take the test?
Yes. That would have been the parental figure.
Parental
That
figures.
was still alive at the time, and
Oh, okay.
it's still alive today.
Oh, yeah.
But suggested to do that as a summer job, perhaps, like to take it in between, when you were in semesters, going from. So I took it a couple years before I actually graduated. Never got called until after I had graduated. So that was the impetus for the foray into the world of New York State government.
Yeah, you were there first, but I don't think you advised me to take the test, did you? Or maybe you said it was okay. I blame John Seaton.
I don't recall. Well, let's blame him. That's fine.
John
We'll blame
Seaton,
him. Yeah.
who told me to take the test. And then I remember my grandmother did say, though, just take any job to get in the state. When you get the first calls. That was a bad advisement there.
Well, my son works for SUNY. But when he graduated from college, he had already taken the test at my request, and my reason was, take the test. If you get a job, you have a full-time gig in between what you may really want to do. Yeah. You'll have your benefits, and at least you have a full-time job, and then from that point forward, if you want to go somewhere else, you have the freedom to look somewhere else. And of course, he's moved within the state. I believe he still works for the state, but he works for SUNY.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I had an interview there. That might not be as bad as some of the things I run into, but maybe, who knows? Does he have any stories, current day wacky stories?
No, he doesn't. He
No.
doesn't tell me any wacky stories other than his job becomes a little mundane during the summer months when there's no students around, so it's less.
Yeah, at least he gets a change.
Yeah, there's less to do, and he may find himself a little bored from time to time. But he has the ability to, at least, he can work remotely. If he's nothing to do, he can talk to his superiors, and they would say, and it has happened, they say, okay, you can go, but stay available to answer emails or phone calls because I connect them in some way. But anyway, that's that.
Yeah. Now, I started in 87, a few years after you, in a department that is now defunct.
Oh, you killed it?
The Department of Economic Development.
Oh.
It's called something else now, but it involved the I Love New York promotions and things.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did you take the first job that was offered, or you looked around in departments, you don't like this department, or...
Well, Ed, let me say this. I went on several interviews, and each one, they offered me the job. Not that I'm anything special, just that they were desperate. There was one job that I knew I was not taking, even before the interview commenced, because I walked in, and, there's people in the front, and I just, you don't know who to go to, because, I just said, I'm here for an interview, I need to see so-and-so. So they said, go straight back, that's her desk. And as I walked past, I don't remember her name, I'll say Jane.
Okay.
And the woman, as I walked past, yelled back, Jane! Your interview's here. Hire him.
Oh!
And I kept walking to Jane, and all in my head I'm saying, I'm not working here.
Was this an attractive woman that...
No.
No, but she was apparently interested in you.
I was young.
In those days, though, in the 80s, you could yell across the hall, hire this hot stud muffin here.
Yeah, I mean... Comparatively speaking to what was there, I was the stud muffin.
Right.
But, with the bad Fu Manchu mustache and long hair and just the general 1980s look. But I was the stud muffin. Mm-hmm. And I went, yep, not working here.
Yeah.
And I did not, but I got an offer. Would you be interested in the job I ended up taking, I probably shouldn't have, but that's where the stories come from.
Yes.
So go ahead.
So, yes, here we are, economic development. You were in the...
New York State DMV.
The DMV.
Yes.
You never had you were working at the counter dealing with the people thing. No,
not the typical go in, get your license renewed or your registrations. I worked in I worked in the traffic violations division, and then I worked in initially when I went to my last job, which I really did like, it was called program analysis at the time. And I did forms. I helped create forms, update forms, made sure the inventory was up, ordered the forms, all that kind of stuff. Did all sorts of different programs, handicap parking permit program, vision registry programs, all those things. Worked on a lot of stuff. Memos written out to all the police agencies in the state, courts, all that stuff. I liked that job. Didn't have a lot of wackiness going on there. Yeah. It was the previous 20 years that was very wacky.
Yeah, I had a couple downtown interviews, but I looking around at the desks and people sitting there, I can't work at these desks, and it's a horrible job. So the one I took was, it was the warehouse type thing for the economic development, where they stored all the flyers and the maps and things for the I Love New York programs, and there was machines that we stuffed the things into an envelope.
Yes.
When you ordered your I Love New York package, we would put that into an envelope with the machine and a map, which really wasn't designed to go on this machine. And the map would jam the things. So it was a little looser atmosphere, which looked like it was interesting to me. I wasn't aware of all the interesting people that were in there, but here we go.
Go ahead.
We've got now. You didn't really come up with a top 10 list.
I did.
But you have 10.
I have a few. I don't know if these are 10. I might have 5 or 6, but
so we'll go back and forth anyway.
All right.
With the stories. Now, my number 10 here is the I Love Economic Development stories.
Okay.
A couple of stories from my time there. Now, the first day was a real winner. I should have known this was a bad start to my state work career. There was another guy, Brian, who was starting with me. And after I had my car at the time, it was a big, huge 1976 Monte Carlo.
Oh.
And I had the Ewing 3 license plates from Dallas. So we're driving home. Oh, it was a rough day, the first one, even in this light office. I just want to go home. I'm driving. All of a sudden, bang! my car is hit from behind. It wasn't even at the lights. So we pull over and I look, it's this Brian from who I just did the orientation with all day. He bangs into my car. Later on, of course, these were lighter times when you can make fun of people and give them nicknames. Somebody gave him the nickname Blinky later on because apparently he had a tick.
Oh, no.
And I think he was trying to read my Ewing 3 license plate, and he got too close, and he just crashed right into my car. That was my first day in the state.
Oh, boy.
Also, later on, this guy, he put up a picture of his girlfriend at his desk. And, you know, these people, come over. I got my girlfriend's picture up here. What do you think?
Oh, God.
Doesn't she look like Winona Ryder? Now, this girl was the farthest thing from Winona Ryder you can see. And you just kind of, oh, yeah, she's nice there. Ugly, not the woman. You don't go pointing this out to people. Come look at this. I wouldn't even put it on my desk. I would scare people off. But he was bringing people up. Oh, does she look like Winona Ryder? And this was about the time I was getting married. And he got married the same time. And he was trying to decide which one I have to invite the supervisor to my wedding.
Invite anybody from work to mine.
And this one, who are you inviting to your wedding? I'm not inviting anybody from here to my wedding.
I didn't either.
I never associated really outside of work with any of these people.
I have a quick story about that.
Okay.
There was this one woman I worked with, nice, liked her, about my age, maybe a little bit, a couple years younger. And we would talk a lot. Sometimes we'd walk together for lunch. And at one point, I heard her talking to someone, and she was referencing me. And she said, and my friend Dave says, well, and I go, whoa, we're not friends. She's like, what do you mean? Of course we're friends. I said, no. You're my work acquaintance. She goes, no, we're friends. I said, no. Because if I ever left this job, would I call you and invite you out somewhere? I go, no. That makes us friends.
Yeah.
Since I would not call you and I would not say, hey, let's get together, we're not friends. Do not reference me as your friend to anyone here because we're not friends. We're work acquaintances.
Mm-hmm. Now, there were odd characters working at this economic development. There was this woman, Janie, and I never heard much from her, but when you would walk by her, she would go, hee.
What was that?
I have no idea.
What is that?
I was there for 3 years.
Is that the Zenith scream?
I don't know what it was. I guess I talked to her a few other times about other things, but I don't know what it was to this day, why she did that and then what the purpose was. I don't remember asking anybody. It was just something that was done whenever you walked by Janie.
We had this guy. Well, see, these are feeding off.
I figured we would be thinking of other things as we go
had
on.
This guy, I'll call him Robert, who had this habit, or you said Blinky, a tick of some sort.
Right.
All he did, every 10, we even timed it, every 10 to 12 seconds. And it's at some point I kind of made it. I thought to myself, he sounds like the original King Kong when you'd hear Kong go.
Walking through the jungle.
But that's what he did. He had this constant throat clearing all the time. And at one point, and this is again tasteless and just not good to make fun of people like this, but me and this other guy, I'll call him Joe. Every time the guy Robert went, we went.
Good call and response.
Yes. But he did it all the time. So I said to him one time, I said, boy, it must be interesting, when you go out to eat or whatever. He says, well, everyone in my family has that kind of similar tick. I said, you guys get together for Thanksgiving? Because all I can imagine is hearing 8 people going,
You could put a tune to it.
But yeah, there's people, there's all these weird little habits and ticks and things that you pick up on when you're sitting there at DMV bored to death. You hear these things.
I guess any job you work at, there's a weird collection. Even we were at Pier 1 and there was different types of people, but not like the state level. There's something about the state which they give you the test, and if you can check off the right numbers, you can get in.
You spell your name, you've got a position. Yeah.
And Joe, the mail guy, was at Economic Development, and he would go from our office downtown to where the real offices were, and bring the mail back and forth.
Yeah.
So somebody thought it was a good. I think they did this a couple times, but they would slap a note or a sign on Joe's bag when he went down. Now, I didn't do the slapping, but one time Splash must have been out. Because there was a scene where John Candy thought he was speaking in some other thing, and the subtitle was, "Hey babe, I got a 12-inch penis." So I threw out, "How about this time you put, 'Hey babe, I got a 12-inch penis' on the sign," and they wrote that on the sign, and Joe went downtown. Of course, this would have been offensive and harassment in any category today. But this was something fun you would do, to slap a sign on Joe's back and watch him go down. And a couple people downtown did see Joe and were questioning him on his member.
Boy, we were horrible people.
These were things you did. These were different times. We have to put a disclaimer up right here.
40 years ago.
It was a long time ago, and things were different. And I don't remember any mention of harassment. Those classes came later on.
Yeah, they came much later. Yeah.
And there was a guy there, I'm going to say Eddie Decker. That's his actual name. And he's probably long gone now. So Eddie, I just like the name Eddie Decker. Kind of a funny name. This was a guy who had no teeth.
You work for the state, you have a dental plan. Get your teeth.
Yeah, I don't know if he had lost them before, but he had gums. He kind of looked like the Bumble after the Hermie pulled the teeth out. And you go around like that. And one day I would see him lunchtime. He would disappear into the bathroom.
Oh, no.
So I go in there, and the stall door is shut. So he's in the bathroom for a while. And then he comes out. I went in later to get a napkin or something. And I see there's a jar of baby food sitting on the toilet paper rack. Apparently Eddie Becker was going in and gumming his baby food.
That's all he could eat.
In the stall.
Couldn't chew.
Yeah. I don't know if he was embarrassed to eat the baby food. He could have put it in a Tupperware thing and just eaten it. But he went in the bathroom and was eating it in there.
All right. Here's a bathroom story.
Okay.
A couple of them, actually. I would, every once in a while, I would try to shut my body down so I wouldn't have to use the bathrooms. I was in there. Oh, I got another one just came to mind. I went in one time into one of the stalls, and there, wedged into the bowl, was this massive. How would I say this?
What did Johnny Depp call it? Is that what you're talking about? A dookie?
Yeah. Just, and I'm like, geez, someone didn't flush this. Well, that's great. But there was no paper. So I kicked, because God forbid you touch those things.
No.
I kicked the flush mechanism, and that's a strong. It didn't go down. It was wedged in there. And I kicked it 4 or 5 times. That thing was not going. So I had to go. I went to another stall. Another time I go in, and my boss is standing at the urinal, and they have the dividers. He's standing there, both elbows up here.
Yeah, I always like the guys that had their hands up above. They weren't.
He's just sitting there going, "All right, how you doing, Dave?" And his arms are up here, resting on the. And then, of course, my favorite one, the very heavy-set individual. I won't even bother giving him a name. Always wore shorts, year-round. Heavy breathing, because he was he's very overweight, very morbidly obese. And on more than one occasion, I'd go in, and you'd have to get to the stalls, you got to pass the urinals. And there he is. You walk past him, he's standing there, his shorts and everything on the floor. And there he is. And I'm just walked by, and I don't know what I did. At one point, I think I just walked by and went, oh, God, it's just no class. And, of course, there's always the famous nose pickers that just leave leave a nice display for you to stare at while you're using the bathroom. But that's my bathroom stories.
I have a couple similar bathroom stories coming up.
Okay.
In the bathroom. The cursed desk, I have at number 9.
Cursed desk, okay. We're getting through most of mine anyway at this point, but go ahead.
But some of the things will come back to us as we go.
Yeah.
Mike was a guy. I didn't have too many work acquaintances that were males.
Okay.
Probably because it was mostly female, right? In the States, for some reason. It seemed like it skewed towards the female.
Yes. I think my first job that I held for a certain number of years, it was probably it was like a 70-30 split. Mm-hmm. Mostly female. The last position I held was probably closer to an even split, but
probably why that one you were at the interview was so excited to see you come in. It's mostly female. So this Mike I worked with in the files. I was laid off from the economic development from Cuomo, and I was picked up at this labor department.
Okay.
Boy, is that place riddled with stories, the labor department. So Mike, I was in the files all the way through until he retired in 2005. And then 2 years later, his wife was sick a lot and had a lot of problems, so he was stressed out about the wife. So 2 years later, we got word that Mike had hung himself in the closet.
Oh, dear.
He was stressed from these. There's some sad stories in here. But this was the desk right behind me.
Oh.
So a couple of years later, when they moved everybody over from next door, I had Bill behind me. And he needed a kidney, I think it was a kidney transplant. So we got the transplant and everything seemed to be working well. And then one day Bill was missing. He didn't come in for a few days. And I had seen a story on the news, which I realized what happened now. It was Bill from behind me. He, for whatever reason, hung himself in a tree just down the street.
Oh, boy.
And they didn't tell anybody. It was, I don't know if it was because of the HIPAA laws that they couldn't relay this information. But when a coworker is missing for a few days, you know, even if they said he had passed on, they didn't tell us anything. Mm. So it was just very odd that the desk behind me, two people.
It's the cursed desk.
It was a cursed desk. Two people hung themselves. It wasn't. They didn't even, suicide or whatever. It was they hung the same way.
We didn't have cursed desks or anything like that, but we had an individual who was on the phone a lot. We thought personal call, whatever it was, but always on the phone. And then one day, our investigators came in and took her out in the cuffs. He was making some drug deals over the phone at the office. Why? Why do you do that? That's nuts. And don't forget.
Not smart, some of these people.
And it's like, do they just figure they're not going to get caught? What are they, Elliot Spitzer? Who thinks he's not going to get caught and he's contacting prostitutes? He's the governor! But yeah, there's a picture of her in the paper being hauled out. You're making these illegal drug connections using your state equipment. You can't do that. And a guy who, when I worked there, he was out of curiosity. I'm gonna check the driving record of the governor.
Oh no!
He types it in, and he no sooner hits enter, and right behind him, there's the investigator. What are you doing? You can't be doing that. You can't be looking at the governor. You can't do that. You may be tempted, but you can't do that.
I think somebody from our class of 1980 was working at a state job and looking up celebrities things, and I think he was canned, which is why he's still working at his new position when everybody else is retiring. Let's see now, I'm just looking up here, and I didn't know if we'd have enough for 2 shows.
Oh, we do.
We're coming to
might have 3.
I think we might have 3, or very tight 2. We'll see.
Okay.
We're just going to go because these are stories that are coming out of us, and they will soon be put to bed after this. Hopefully they'll be forgotten and put away. And
until we feel like running the show again.
Right. But these things must come out. Now, here is number 8, Joan and Sheila and Frick and Frack. I'm calling this one. This is comparing, we had hourlies. Did you have hourly
Yeah,
people?
they were, I forget what they called them. But, I mean, they were temporary workers.
They were hourlies, and people usually brought them in, a lot of friends and family plan. And so we had 2 of the dumbest, but equally as dumb as the 2 supervisors that were at the top at the time.
Yeah.
So Joan apparently had a problem filing. There was a lot of filing of the unemployment forms. They were filed by Social Security number. So she had them almost in the right file, but the wrong cabinet.
Okay.
They were sort of filed correctly, but they should have been in the cabinet next door. So they were people were going and looking for these files, and they couldn't find them. So one afternoon, and she was turning red, we had to verify every file in there. It took all afternoon, I think, and the next day too. We had to go through every file to make sure they were in order. And by the end of the afternoon, this many were misfiled from Joan. A little problem there.
I have a file story. Am I interrupting yours?
No, go ahead when you got something.
This individual, you know well.
Okay.
Came and worked at my office, and there was filing. There was filing of tickets, traffic tickets.
Okay.
And you would have to reference these files a lot of times to pull, if someone would call and say, hey, I never got this ticket. How did it get on my record? You would pull the ticket. And sometimes, and then when they would pay the ticket, we had a file for that to make sure that it was set aside, put in these proper files by date. And if you were pleading not guilty, we had a file for that. Well, this individual, we didn't know. All of a sudden, we're looking for tickets. We can't find these tickets.
Oh, no.
Which is, for that to happen was difficult because there were tens of thousands of tickets being issued. This was New York City and Buffalo and Rochester and all that. So we would get all those in. But for us to look for tickets and can't find them, it happens. Misfiled, wrong date, and you would have no way of knowing where to look. Well, at one point, we couldn't figure it out why we were missing a lot of these tickets. And someone, I don't know whether it was accidental or whatever, but they noticed something sticking out of this individual's desk. And, you had the big calendar on top, and the calendar had this little bend to it. And they picked up the calendar and shoved in were tons of tickets. And they opened the desk drawer. He didn't feel like getting up to file. He just opened his drawer and slid them in.
Oh,
so you couldn't find these tickets. And if people were looking for them and you needed to verify it, you couldn't do it. And there were several people that I'm certain the tickets were put on their record by mistake, but we couldn't change it because we didn't have the tickets to find. We couldn't find the tickets. Needless to say, you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah. The star of Music Spotlight, I think it was called.
Yeah, there were a lot of tickets there.
Oh, so he was canned for that.
I don't think he lost his job per se. I think he just got moved to a different office.
Yeah, it would take a lot to get somebody actually canned from the States.
Oh yeah, we had people stealing money out of out of other people's drawers. Stealing, you can make a good killing when you walking around, opening a drawer, and here's $3 here, here's $1.50 here. They were stealing. No, they need to get fired. No, just get moved to a different office. Steal at that office.
The good old union and supervisors. Well, we have come to the end of a half hour here. So join us again next time for a continuation of the Wacky Work Story Show.
The New Media Zone has been a Cable 2000 production.